up, you guys? It's your girl Kristen here. I'm a licensed esthetician, a freelance makeup artist, a YouTuber, a mom. Welcome to my channel if it's your first time checking me out. So glad to have you. If you're new here, make sure you scroll through my channel and see what I'm about. I've been doing a ton of videos for other estheticians. Maybe you're an aspiring solo esthetician. I opened up this space about 6 months ago to start taking clients and to work on my business, and it's just been a crazy journey ever since. So come along with me, hit that subscribe button. I'm really excited about this video in particular. I've been getting a lot of questions and requests for a video that specifically addresses sanitation. I'm going to be giving you 12 sanitation do's and don'ts, and I got this info straight from the Board of Barbering and Cosmetology website of California. So if you want to compare the standards to your specific state, make sure you look at your website to make sure you're in compliance. But this was great for me to do, actually. I had to kind of check myself with certain things that I had in the studio and rearrange some things so that I made sure I was compliant. Whether you're somebody who's hoping to open up your own space one day, or you're already in your own space, this is gonna be a great video for you to watch just to make sure you're up to standard with the board. If you want to hear the 12 sanitation do's and don'ts, then make sure you continue watching. Thank you so much for tuning into this video. Again, if you haven't already, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. You're gonna wanna join. First and foremost, you're not gonna wanna miss these first two announcements that I have. I am now a partnered influencer with Vibe Season. A lot of you have been asking where I get my jewelry from. Love it because it just adds a little pop to the all black attire that I wear. These are the linked gold hoops, and this is a custom necklace that actually has my son's name on it, and a butterfly pendant, and I have a bunch of other jewelry coming in. Go ahead and use my code. It is KMarieCo, and you'll get 50% off at checkout. So take advantage of that. I'm really liking their jewelry, and I've gotten a lot of compliments. And then number two is I'm actually gonna be doing a giveaway at the end of this video. Props to you if you guys didn't forward, because you're gonna get to hear about this giveaway. So I actually had accidentally ordered too many of a certain product, and it's professional size, by the way. I thought, hey, why not give it away to one of my YouTube viewers? So watch to the very end for instructions on that and what the giveaway item is. It might not just be one, it might be a couple. So, you definitely want to check that out. Without further ado, let's get into the content itself. So like I had mentioned in the introduction, I'm gonna go over 12 sanitation do's and don'ts. And these are tips that are gonna be taken straight from the Board of Barbering and Cosmetology website of California. Again, if you want to make sure you're in compliance with your state, go ahead and refer your specific website for your state. But this is gonna be probably pretty general for anybody in any state, or even if you're in another country. I know I've gotten a lot of other people who are viewing me from other places, so that's super awesome. I feel really honored to be somebody that you're viewing across the seas. Let's get into these 12 do's and don'ts. So number one, do keep a cleaning and sanitation procedures document in your studio. So I actually have mentioned this in another video of mine, but I'm going to be pulling this out here for you guys as well. I have a clipboard here, and it is a list of closing procedures. So you can also have one for opening procedures as well, but specifically closing procedures, where we're cleaning up at the end of the day, putting stuff away. Just want to keep track of what you're doing. And if board comes in and wants to see a record of your sanitation, you can whoop this out and be like, hey, this is my weekly checklist. It'd be good to keep a weekly checklist and a daily checklist. And I do certain things on a weekly basis, and if you want to see those specifically, make sure you watch my last video that I did regarding my deep clean for this studio. So I'll make sure I link that video up here so you guys can check that out. Being a solo esthetician, you're a one-man show, so you might slip your mind, and so it might be good to refer to something so that you make sure that you're not forgetting to clean or change something on a weekly or daily basis. Okay, so number two, do take the Barbicide certification course for COVID-19. I had been seeing some other estheticians and cosmetologists posting a certificate on their social media pages, and I was curious, so I went and I asked one of my friends, and I said, where did you take this course? And she ended up sending me a link. I'll make sure I link that down below for you guys so that you guys can check it out as well. It's a free certification, and Barbicide is the one that hosts that. It just really gave a good refresher on what you need to be mindful of as far as sanitation when it does come to dealing with this pandemic. Go and get that certification, print out the certificate, and hang it in plain view for your guests to see so that they feel a little bit more comfortable knowing, like, okay, like my esthetician went and took this certification and she's a little bit more well-versed in what's going on with COVID-19 and the standards that are around that. I actually have mine hanging on my door here so that clients can easily view it and know that I've gotten certified for that. Okay, number 3, don't leave out any non-electrical tools or implements, gowns, linens, towels to be in public view. So when your client comes in, they should not be able to see any of your linens, where you store any of your tools. All of that should be kept in a closed either container or cabinet. So as you can see here, and you've seen in my room tour video, that I have a cabinet here. I installed it into this space. It did not come with this space. And I have a dresser. I have a bunch of different containers throughout the studio. And I've mentioned this in another video before, that when I set up for a facial, I usually don't have a bunch of things out waiting for the guest. I like to pull things out as they're being used so that there's no chance of any transmission of anything getting onto the items. So it's going to be taken straight out of whatever container that they're in and then put on the client or used on the client. And to address the things that are used, so say you use towels or sheets on a guest, make sure that you have a separate container that can be closed and labeled soiled to place any used towels, garments, anything like that. They need to be placed into that container immediately after use, and they must not go back near or onto any clean surfaces until they've been disinfected and sanitized. Now, I did go through the website and it didn't specifically list out any specific detergents. I use just a regular laundry detergent and Clorox bleach to wash my sheets. Of course, mine's are white, so obviously if your guys's are different colors, then I think you'd be safe to just use detergent. And then this point I wanted to make is actually something that I needed to change up. Any disposables in containers need to have the label put on it new. Disposable Q-tips, disposable mascara wands, lip applicators, anything like that. I went and I actually put those labels on the containers that I have back here, and anything that I have inside of a bag or in a container that is disposable. And of course, I'm sure we all know this, that as soon as you use that disposable item, it needs to be thrown away in a closed trash can. So if you have a trash can at this point that's open, I would go and get a closed trash can or something that can be closed. Obviously, when you're waxing and all that, you want it to be able to be propped open, and that's fine. But after you work on that client, you need to make sure that that trash can has a lid on top of it. So number 4, it's another don't. Don't place any used items like disposables, electrical and non-electrical tools that have been used on a guest on a clean surface, because then that makes that surface not clean anymore. And then once you dirty that surface, you either have to change that towel or change the bib or paper that maybe you put down for the tools. So after any tool or implement is used, it needs to be put into a container labeled soiled so that you can disinfect it later. If you're somebody who has multiple clients in a day, it would be very wise to purchase multiple tools. So I have multiple extraction tools, I have multiple fan brushes, goggles, so that I'm not having to disinfect in between clients. Number 5 is do put clean towels or disposable bib onto any surfaces that might come into contact with tools, towels, anything that will be used on a guest. So I place towels on top of my dresser, on top of the hot towel cabinet, and then on top of my SMA where my bowls and my products are laying on top of. Make sure you change those towels daily. If you do use a bib, which is not completely necessary, I don't have disposable bibs. I know I've seen others use them as well, but I feel like it's kind of a waste of money to have to dispose of more things. It's just more trash for you to worry about. If you follow my tip number 4, then you won't have to worry about that, because if you're placing tools directly into a soiled container, then you're not going to worry about having to change out towels or change out disposable bibs. At the minimum, make sure you're placing that clean towel on top of any surfaces. All right, number 6, do disinfect between clients. You can use Lucicide, spray it onto a clean towel to wipe down any common surfaces that you or the client might have touched during the service. Surfaces like your steamer, lids to your disposable containers, your products, anywhere that the guest placed belongings, anything that has been touched. Create like a little pocket in between each service to clean and to transition. So I give myself 5 minutes. I used to give myself 10, but then I found like, oh my gosh, I'm wasting 20 minutes of time that I could be working on a client. 5 minutes I've found is just enough to be able to just quickly wipe down things. I also wipe down things during a service so that I'm not using all of my transition time to wipe down stuff. During the mask or you're done with the steamer, wipe down the steamer after you use it. I'm all about time efficiency, so the more you can do things simultaneously, the better. Number 7, don't allow clients to use their phones or touch their belongings during a service. So as soon as a guest comes in, it's all about how you kind of word it. So you don't want to tell your clients like, you're not allowed to do this, because you can't tell people what to do. I do have hooks on the wall here that I instruct guests to hang their belongings, like their purse, their clothes, anything that can hang, because it's out of the way, it's not touching anything. And then any loose belongings, I actually have a tray I put onto my table here, and it's a specific tray. I just got this tray from Target. I got it in the like bath section. Just a plain tray where I tell them to place their phone, their watch, their jewelry, any loose items that they might not necessarily be putting in their bag. Before I step out of the room, I actually tell them to sanitize their hands before they lay down on the table. Just kind of what I've done to make sure things are as clean as possible. And because surfaces carry germs, not only instructing them to not touch their belongings, but I know as a solo esthetician, I do use my phone a lot to film content. So make sure when you are touching your own personal belongings to make sure that you're sanitizing your hands. And of course, washing your hands between services. All right, you still with me? Gotta keep paying attention. We have 5 more of these babies to go through, and then of course at the end we're doing that giveaway announcement. Number 8, do keep a disinfectant container labeled disinfectant out in plain view and available for use at all times. You can keep this either on your dresser or on your SMA, a shelf, somewhere that is in plain view for you to be able to use at any point, and it must be labeled disinfectant. For if board comes in to check, they will want to see something out for display. And I've gotten a lot of questions regarding how to disinfect and how to use certain solutions. Everybody's gonna have their own preference. There's so many different solutions out there that you can use. Just make sure it is compliant with EPA standards. So personally, I use Lucicide and I use Barbicide. Each of your disinfectant solutions, whether it is Lucicide or Barbicide, is gonna have specific instructions on those containers that they come in. According to board, you actually have to keep those containers inside of your studio. If you have your solutions sitting in separate containers, you need to keep the original container so that you can refer back to it and read the instructions of how to dilute it and how to use it. If you want specifics on that, I will be covering that in my training that I will be doing online for you guys, so stay tuned for that. Whatever disinfectant solution you decide to use, make sure you're following those directions specifically. All right, number 9, do wear gloves when handling any step of the disinfection process. I've been wearing gloves whenever I'm making my hot towels, when I'm taking stuff out of the Barbicide or placing them in the Barbicide, when I'm washing items, I have gloves on, and when I'm placing them into the autoclave or taking them out of the autoclave, I'm wearing gloves. So just wear gloves for everything. I know I've gotten a lot of questions about wearing gloves during the service. I know California is a little bit more on the strict side. I just have personally decided to wear gloves during a service because of the nature of the virus, that it can be spread through contacts, and that's a decision that you're gonna have to make for your own business. Number 10, all right, we got 3 more. Hang in there with me. These are very important. You don't wanna miss them. Don't handle products like your own. I know in a lot of videos that we see influencers putting like a dropper on their skin. We see people like putting product directly onto their hand. It's a big no-no when it comes to working on clients. Like, I've had to check myself with this as well, and I've had to kind of brush up on what I had learned in school. And I remember my teacher getting on our cases about not taking product directly from containers or bottles. So let me show you a couple examples. If a product has an open spout, the proper way of dispensing it is to use one hand on top of the spout, pressing it down, and the product falling onto the hand. You don't want your hand to be cupping the opening. You're not to be touching the spout of that product. I know sometimes I go in with one hand to get more massage oil from my dispenser, but that is actually improper. Most professional products are not designed this way, but sometimes here and there I actually purchase retail size of products. Some of them do come in these kind of bottles, so if that's you and you do decide to purchase retail size products or try out other products, just make sure if they are those kind of bottles that you're pressing on the back side of the product with your pointer finger without actually touching the spout. If you think about it, germs are on your hands. When you're touching the client, you no longer have clean hands. So unless you are sanitizing your hands before you're dispensing the product, you need to be keeping the spout away from your hand. Having a bottle that has that kind of opening, you need to be either from far away dispensing that product, or, and I know my teacher used to get on our case about this, to put it on a tray or into a disposable cuppy and then scooping it out of the cuppy with your hands. And remember, that was on our board test. I know it sounds extra, but that is like completely how we were taught. Of course, if you have a product that has a dropper, again, not touching that dropper to your hand, dispensing that product above your hand, having it fall into your hand or into a disposable cuppy. Even when it comes to finishing products, like a lot of my finishing products, even the professional sizes, come in the squeeze bottles, and normally I've been putting them on the back of my hand and then, you know, putting it on the palm of my hand and putting it onto the client. Like I said, this is for me to check myself too. To put those products into disposable cuppies or a tray. It has little like, I'll try to put a picture here so you guys can see what I used to use in school. My teacher would go and she would put all of our finishing products into this little tray. And honestly, it actually saves a lot of product when you do it that way too. And again, it just keeps things sanitary. Also, when it comes to pre-portioning products, I know for me, I pre-portion masks and certain products into disposable cuppies. Make sure when you're doing that, you're wearing gloves and you're using either a new wooden spatula for each product or a new clean spatula. And then of course, I'm sure we all know this, but I'm just gonna say it just because, never put a product or a dispenser onto the client themselves. So any droppers, anything, like don't touch the client at all with your products. Right, number 11, two more guys. Number 11, don't work on guests if you're experiencing any symptoms of infection or illness. This also goes for your guests. If you notice that your guest is having sneezes, the sniffles, cough especially, you have the right to refuse service. You need to be mindful of your own health, of the health of the people that you live with, that you're around. And this goes for not even just COVID. This is just anybody that's sick should not be coming and getting a treatment. I do go through a specific waiver in the beginning of my services that go through to make sure that this person has not had recent exposure, has not experienced symptoms. I also take their temperature. So make sure that if you or the client are having any sort of symptoms, that you are staying home, you're taking care of yourself, and you're not spreading any more germs to anybody. It's for your reputation too. You don't want to be known as the esthetician that comes in and works on people when they're sick. So take care of yourselves, make yourself the priority and your guests the priority, and you'll be good to go. Number 12, do watch my opening and closing procedures video if you haven't already. I know I've mentioned it a lot, but that video actually goes over specifically what I do to open and close my rooms. A little bit of a step-by-step on how I disinfect things, what I prepare at the beginning of the day, how I set up. I will touch on a couple key points from that video, or points that I didn't make in that video. The first point I want to make is to make sure you wipe down your products in between services and after the day is over. Wipe down all those products, and any products that have open spouts need to be stored into a closed container or a cabinet. The article that I've been referring to for this whole video has a really specific breakdown on how to disinfect. Go and look at that link that I put down below and you'll be able to see a step-by-step on how to disinfect your tools properly. If I need to scrub anything, I use a brush. You want to use non-porous implements. No sponges that you're using to clean things. It needs to be something that can't contain and hold on to bacteria. And of course, if you see your brush starting to get dirty looking and the hairs are all crazy looking, then make sure you change it and get a new one. Okay, and then I also have separate towels for cleaning, because when I wipe the floor, they do get stained. And those are just unattractive towels to use on clients anyways, but you don't want to be using the same towels that you use on clients that you use to clean. And make sure after you clean certain items and you disinfect them, that things like your bowls and your brushes and all that are laid out to air dry. The more air that your implements have access to, the cleaner they'll be. And if you're putting wet implements straight into a bag or a container, there's a high possibility for it to start to have mold or grow funky stuff. You definitely don't want that happening. And if you're putting your bowls upside down, you put it in a way where air can still access inside of those bowls. All right, well that does it, you guys. There's the 12 sanitation do's and don'ts. Like this video if you learned something new, if you enjoyed this. Again, I'm gonna be doing a more specific training on this in my upcoming virtual trainings that I'm working on right now, so be on the lookout for that. And now, without further ado, let's get into the giveaway. Let me go and grab it. I don't know how this happened, but I wanted to reorder a product that I use a ton of in my back bar. And somehow I ended up ordering 4 of them. I was like, okay, whatever. I use this product a lot. The clients love it. So I'm like, hey, I'm gonna give one away. So I have here a professional size of the Cucumber Hydration Toner from Skin Scripts. So it comes in this huge 16-ounce bottle and a little spout that you can put in, and actually it's like one of those like press ones where you use a cotton round. And then I'm probably gonna throw in there some samples for image for you as well, maybe a couple other little surprises. So if you want to enter in for that giveaway, here's what you got to do. You have to like this video, make sure you're subscribed to me, Kristen Marie, and you need to comment below what your favorite do and don't was. Or maybe it was a do or don't that you didn't know or that you found was really helpful. Then also be following me on Instagram. All right? Is that simple enough? Thank you so much for tuning into this video. I'm really excited to continue this journey with you guys and create content that's going to be helpful for you. I love you guys. Stay safe in our crazy, crazy world, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.